it's a real treat to be here. Last year I was part of a panel, and it was all brainstorming and grabbing ideas everywhere. Now I really hope to bring you in the life of the daily life that we lead as IPv4 brokers. There's been a lot of tech, AI, codes. Frankly, I don't really know any of that much. So I'm going to go exactly to where the backbone of the industry is, which is IPv4s. Now, let's get it started. I'm going to make a quick introduction, and by the end, I hope to show you that the job that we're doing is a lot more human, a lot of chaos, and a lot more funny than you might expect. Now, in our company, we're managing over 200,000 IPs from over 150 suppliers. Actually, it's about 250 since I made this PowerPoint, and I didn't get a chance to do it. But this means a lot of stress and living in a constant state of negotiation. You're always talking to the suppliers, you're always talking to the clients, always trying to get the best pricing out of everyone. Now, what happens is we try to identify and we try to help each client that we have. Each client is different. Each client has its own set of problems, of issues, of have their own different way of navigating stress and whatever they think is urgent. But they still have, we identified around five types of clients and 5 things that every single client is looking for. Now, what do our clients actually want? They want instant deployment of IPs. They want a native geolocation of IPs. If they want to arrange from Spain, it needs to be from Spain specifically. Zero downtime, obviously, because you don't really want to have anything going down. And I'm looking at some of the clients here, and I know there were some issues in the past. Fast refunds, obviously, everything happens, you want their money back, and peace of mind. Now, we try to do every single one of these. Now, this is not as easy as it seems. If you want to upscale and if you want to actually bring more value, it's not as easy as it looks. Now, what do our clients actually get? Instant deployment, most of the time. Native geolocation, most of the time. Zero downtime, I'm looking at you, most of the time. Fast refunds, no, those are pretty fast. We don't really want to mess with people's money, so those are really back really quickly. Peace of mind, is that still a thing? Like, whoever has peace of mind now. The reason I made this kind of introduction was to bring you and explain to you why these things are so difficult to accomplish. And the only way I kind of figured out we can do it is by telling you some war stories of what we experienced in the past for our clients. And let's get right into them. War story 1, the SLA paradox. What does that mean? Now, according to our terms and conditions, we have a 99% uptime for the ranges that we lease. This means that out of 720 hours, we're kind of allowed 7.2 hours per month of downtime. Sounds generous until it's not. Now, imagine what happens next. You have 1/22, which is 1,000 IPs, that drops for 18 hours, which is pretty bad. Like, imagine having 1,000 IPs dropping from now up until 18 tomorrow, like midday. It's going to be bad for business. Now, according to our SLA, this qualifies for a $25 refund. And it looks pretty bad to the client considering what has happened in his operation. Now imagine a true case that happened where you get 5/22s dropping every other 18 hours. So 1,000 IPs, 1,000 IPs, 1,000 IPs. That's a week of IPs dropping, because you never know what happens. You get suppliers that decide in Brazil to make a sudden change in infrastructure and they don't notify you. When that drops, the refund is $125. Now imagine a scraper, a proxy platform, having 5,000 IPs going down for an entire week. That's more than $125 worth of damages. That's more than $125 worth of refunds. But according to the terms and conditions in SLA, that's what we're going to get. So it's very difficult to navigate this relationship with the client based on the SLA. So that's why we're trying to keep a more human approach and try to keep the ranges down. This teaches us that the actual damage is reputational, not financial, because it's very hard to put money on what the client actually considers as being his reputation. Now, heading into war story 2, the ghost supplier. What's the story with the ghost supplier? I think we all kind of experienced this. I received, this is a true story, I received a batch of 3,000 IPs. It was perfect. I was on the phone with the supplier for about 3 weeks, pretty much daily, had the IPs, had the client, presented the IPs to the client, everything was a go. And right before we started the lease, the supplier disappears. Just complete and utter radio silence. He didn't talk, he didn't respond to WhatsApp, to Telegram, to emails, to nothing. Now the good part in this was that the client did not pay me yet, and I was not paying the supplier. So there was no money involved. Now, ranges were not leased then. We got lucky with that because, again, if there's money involved, then there's problems. If it's just ranges on a piece of paper, it's not an issue. We kept going for about a week. We finally get into the supplier, and I guess you can all guess if it was summer, what did he say? He said, I was traveling. So what does that teach us? It's a bit of a fork in the road because you're thinking as a broker, okay, I'm talking to the guy, I'm good at my job, and then for a week he doesn't answer. The client doesn't really know what to think about you because, well, you didn't really bring the ranges, the client didn't answer, so it's a bit of a difficult situation. It happens, and it impacts our ability to make the client happy at the end of the day. Now, this was a lucky break because no money was involved. Now, what happens when money is involved? You get into the new allocation curse. The new allocation curse, don't laugh, it's real. It's a situation where you're feeling you're too good at your job, you get ranges, you're trying to lease them to the client, and then something happens. We got a batch of 5,000 Spanish IPs. I remember it like it was yesterday. Talked to the client, had them routed on a server on a Tuesday. We leased them out to the client same Tuesday, got paid the supplier. On Friday, we get a call that the supplier needs to cut them. And the call went like this. How you doing? The ranges are on a production server. We're going to need to put them on a production server on Monday. So he cuts them on the phone. I talked to the client, all right, it's a bit of a weird situation. Let's wait until Monday. Monday rolls around, nothing happens. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, a whole week passes, nothing happens, the ranges are not back. Now this is a bit of a situation because the client paid us, we paid the supplier, it seems like we both got scammed. Naturally, we involve legal, we try to bring a bit of pressure, that sort of stuff. Another weekend passes, I manage on a Saturday to talk to the supplier, and he manages to put the ranges on a server, says it was all a big misunderstanding, you're good to go. Now, where does the new allocation curse comes in? I talk to the client and say, look, I got them back, it's a Saturday, I feel confident, start working with them, I'm the best broker that you ever met. And they drop again, probably like 5 or 6 hours after I do that. Turns out the supplier thought that every time the client was using the ranges and start moving traffic through them, he thought that it was a DDoS attack on his infrastructure, and he was basically dropping the announcement and just cutting everything out. Now, probably still thinks this, but we managed to renegotiate our contract, paid him a bit more money, and he kind of goes, okay, that's what these guys are doing, nobody died, and it's all good. So these are just 3 of one of the most common things that you experience as a broker in trying to get the end result to the client. Now, what does this teach us? That being predictable is nothing less than a utopia. Let me tell you what I dream of at night when I dream about work. I don't only dream of work, but when I dream that a client comes to me today, 25th of September, and says, look, we're going to have a project, October 12th. We're going to need 3,000 IPs. You geolocate them, bring them, we bill, everything. I dream perfect. The calm, planning, extreme peacefulness. In reality, It's kind of like guesswork. Client comes in, he says, look, I need you to give me 1,000 Italian IPs. I go, well, I don't have 1,000 Italian IPs. I can geolocate them for you in about a couple of weeks. Nah, that's not going to work. I need them right now, right now, right now. Everything is right now, by the way, for some reason. Now, what do? I start doing a bit of educated guesses. Okay, this client wants 1,000 IPs. I talk to my procurement team, and I tell them, look, I have this guy who wants 1,000 IPs. Take 2,000 German IPs, geolocate them, and we'll figure out in about 10 days, because I have a feeling that this might work. So procurement team takes the IPs, geolocates them, and 9 times out of 10 days later, same client comes in, I still need those Italian IPs. Well, there you go. I have them right now, geolocated for you. There's same IPs, it's just they show Italy instead of Germany. And now they're the best IPs in the world. Now, again, 9 times out of 10, you can upsell on that client. If you want 1,000 IPs and you're bringing 2,000, he'll probably book you in for 1,500. So, what do I do with the other 500 IPs? I talk to other clients, because usually we have this theory that IP demand is contagious. If a client wants IPs from a certain country, there's a 90% chance that all the other clients, scrapers, platforms, are going to similarly want the same type of IPs. They're all kind of hearing from each other and talking to each other, I guess, and reading forums and asking for demand. What we're basically doing is having a tightrope of communication. We like to think that we sell timing and instinct and not just IPs, because that's what a broker gives you. It manages to bring everything from here, from the suppliers, right to your doorstep. Another issue that we've been having as a broker, and this was in the last year, is traffic. Now, this is really difficult to navigate a bit. As more highways, right, equals more traffic, more proxies equals more traffic. Now, historically, our clients don't really had a history of paying for traffic, and different clients pay for traffic differently. Some clients want their traffic inserted in the IP. Some clients have a different money they spend for traffic. It's very different. The thing is, traffic has gotten more and more and more expensive, and this means that our suppliers starting giving us bills, which is a pretty bad news. You don't really want to go to a client with the bill from a supplier, because when we do that, it's kind of like the absolute last resort that we do, because the client doesn't really want to pay for the traffic that comes from the supplier, because that's not the deal that he made. You don't really want to pay for the traffic because you only made a deal with the supplier for IPs, and the supplier kind of is in his right to bill you because it's his traffic you're using. So what do? You don't really want to get out of the invoice, but you're trying to manage it. So if a $500, let's say, bill comes from the supplier, 9 times out of 10, we basically go, all right, how about you don't give me that, and I'll pay you $1,000 instead of 500, but you give me more IPs. Or you just put me 2 or 3% more overall costs, and we'll just take it from there. You don't want to get a bill from the supplier to the client, because we feel that's an impact in their trust. If the client wanted bills from the suppliers, he would just go to the suppliers themselves. They wouldn't need for a broker. We're not just pushing pencils. So you have this tightrope that you need to explain to the client what the prices are, what the costs are, and how you're managing to get out of it. Now, you do this Monday to Friday, every month, every day, every year, until you get to the silent win. What is a silent win? The silent win is one day of the month where everything is just completely and utterly relaxed. Just one day. You never know when it happens. It can be a Monday, Tuesday, Friday. I hope God is Friday, but you never know. It's a day where you have no tickets, nothing drops. Everybody, there's no phone calls from the clients. There's no phone calls from the suppliers. It's just no emails, nothing. A guy from procurement that's in charge for UK coined the term of no stress means success. It's like nobody stresses you out. The IPs are working for you. Something must be good. So that's the time where you go with your team. You go to lunch. You talk about how good that client is, how better that client is, and all that stuff, because no client is bad, okay? And usually that happens up until 4 p.m. because there is absolutely no way there is not a ticket or nothing drops in between a day. And that is only because you can be calm and collected and have one client and have a small batch of IPs and nothing drops ever. But if you want to scale and if you want to build up a big data plan, if you want to go to more clients, this is inevitable. What can we take from all of this? Well, 100% uptime is impossible. Technically, it is possible, but if you want to upscale, it's pretty difficult because you're taking chances. The more you're upscaling, the more chances you take. Client comes in and he says, well, I want something in Asia. All right, let me just figure out how I buy a server in Taiwan, and I don't really know Taiwanese and what's he talking, and and you're trying to navigate everything, and uptime, 100% uptime is pretty much impossible. Chaos is constant. It's not, nobody's yelling, nobody's screaming, except via emails, tickets, Telegram, WhatsApp, and emails. It's the state of the day. You're always in constant chaos. You're always trying to put out small fires, big fires, not necessarily because things are going bad, but because this is a sign of progress, because you're trying to bulldoze yourself through each problem that you have. And if I were to summarize the work that we do as brokers, it would be this. Crisis management isn't part of the job, it is a job. And this is pretty much it. Thank you. All right. If you have any questions, I'm more than happy to go ahead about them.
Do you have any questions? Anyone can put this on? In the meantime, I'm curious actually, what are the trends you've seen in the last year around IPv4?
We've seen there's a demand for Asia. It feels like there's if last year everybody was talking about let's move to Asia, let's do some things in Asia, in the last 6 or 7 months there's actually been quite some movement there with countries like Singapore and Taiwan. And Korea. That area over there has been really booming in the past 4 months, especially in my case. That's one of the trends I've seen. The IPs are a bit more expensive there. Traffic is a bit more expensive there, but it's definitely a direction that a lot of scrappers seem to be taking.
Yeah, definitely, that makes sense. And has it been easy enough to source them there? Or has that been an issue?
No, it's the most difficult thing that we do. We have a Chinese guy that changes them into Taiwan, and then we change them into Korea, and then that's only one database, and then you're trying to move all to the databases, and then you realize that the ASN is bad, and you have no traffic, and if you want traffic like in Europe, then you got to pay $1,000 per /24, and it's just the most difficult thing that we could ever do. Yeah, Asia is probably the most challenging one so far. Yeah, definitely, both sourcing and maintaining.
Yeah, that makes sense. Anyway, listen, thanks very much, Ovi.
Thank you.
It was a great talk.
Thank you.